Hi, today we will discuss Keytruda's upcoming catalyst in the HNSCC indication, the potential peak sales, and our three-pronged strategy to overcome the looming exclusivity gap. Starting with the upcoming catalyst, we believe Keytruda has a good shot at an FDA approval in the perioperative HNSCC setting given the compelling Keytruda:OTE689 data that showed a 27% improvement in Fs for patients receiving perioperative Keytruda versus radiotherapy. And this was across all patients regardless of PD-L1 expression. If approved, we estimate that this will drive over $1 billion in annual sales despite only modestly impacting the metastatic patient population because the majority of patients with locoregionally advanced disease are cured with surgery and radiation therapy. However, there is still a subset of patients who cannot be cured with surgery or radiation alone and represent a significant unmet need. In fact, there is a much larger group of patients who have either failed induction or definitive chemoradiotherapy, leaving the standard of care in this setting unclear. In these cases, there are two other groups that have shown durable responses to immunotherapy, namely those with high PD-L1 expression, defined as CPS20, and those with mismatch repair deficiency, or MSIH status. For these patients, Keytruda monotherapy has shown a 34% and 51% reduction in the risk of recurrence, respectively. Importantly, the current KEYNOTE-689 trial did not stratify survival endpoints based on PD-L1 expression. So if the FDA were to approve Keytruda outside of the PD-L1 high population, it would represent a huge win for Merck and something we think they are actively pursuing. Furthermore, the KEYNOTE-689 data also showed a higher pathological response rate with Keytruda plus chemotherapy compared to chemotherapy alone, which was a secondary endpoint in the study. Given the strong clinical activity seen in the study, the FDA has set a decision date for June 23, 2025. So we expect to hear from the FDA on Keytruda's fate in the perioperative setting in less than 12 months. However, while an approval in the perioperative setting is likely to be a near-term positive catalyst for Keytruda, the eventual loss of exclusivity in 2028 remains a key overhang for the stock. And according to William Blair analysts, even a modest uptake in the perioperative setting would mean crowding from the numerous anti-PD-1 drugs in the 𝗜𝗡𝗓𝗓 pipeline that are all trying to grab the same small piece of the pie. And this includes Mirano's M102, which has shown impressive results in triple-negative breast cancer and is being tested in multiple other tumor types, as well as 𝗟𝗟𝗏𝗡𝗅, which is also showing great clinical activity in solid tumors. Therefore, we think Merck needs to implement a battle plan to fend off biosimilars once Keytruda loses patent protection in 2028, and we believe they have three options. And the first option is to gain orphan drug designation for rare HNSCC subsets like HPV-negative or recurrent cases. The rationale here is that if Keytruda can demonstrate substantial improvement in a rare disease population, then it can qualify for 7 additional years of protection under the Orphan Drug Act, and this would extend the exclusivity date to 2035. Notably, Merck already has precedent here as they received MSIH orphan status back in 2017, which allowed them to maintain Keytruda's exclusivity until 2029. However, this does not protect Keytruda against biosimilars beyond 2029, and therefore, Merck needs other options. And the second option is to seek pediatric exclusivity for Keytruda in HNSCC. This can grant an additional 6-month extension to any existing indication and requires initiation of a trial in adolescents with HNSCC. While this may seem like a small benefit, it actually extends all of Keytruda's indications by 6 months. It's relatively low cost, only requiring 1 or 2 trials, and does not have the same limitations as the Rare Pediatric Disease Priority Review Voucher Program, which has been utilized by other companies like Roche for Polivy in follicular lymphoma. The third option is to file a subcutaneous formulation of Keytruda. The rationale is that a new formulation represents a new product and can reset the entire patent clock. This also creates a biosimilar entry barrier, as biosimilars are only allowed to reference products that have been on the market for at least 6 months. A subcutaneous formulation of Keytruda is currently being investigated in multiple trials, including a trial in newly diagnosed glioblastoma patients that is expected to report top-line data in the second half of 2023. We believe a successful trial will lead to a 2026 to 27 launch. These three strategies create overlapping periods of protection that can push meaningful biosimilar competition into the early 2030s. In our base case, we assume Merck will pursue all three strategies. When combined with ongoing lifecycle management efforts, such as testing Keytruda in new combinations and exploring different dosing regimens, we believe Keytruda can maintain greater than 50% market share through 2030 despite patent expiration. In summary, we are looking forward to an FDA decision on Keytruda in the perioperative HNSCC setting in June of 2025. We believe Merck is well positioned to defend against biosimilars after 2028 with their three-pronged exclusivity strategy, and this should allow Keytruda to maintain its dominant position in immuno-oncology. Thank you for listening. If you have any questions, please reach out to us through the provided contact information.